Hey there, welcome to the Dawning of the True Self YouTube channel. I want to talk to you about two books in this series. Not so much about this one, even though this was the first seed was planted with this book, and during the writing of The Three Feathers, which is a fable, I had the idea that the journey that is being talked about in this book, in The Three Feathers, is a spiritual journey of awakening. And I thought it would be great to have a companion to The Three Feathers, and that describes a spiritual journey from the beginning to the end. The beginning being the question or the statement that there must be more to life than what we see in front of us every day, what we feel, and what we think about ourselves. There must be more to ourselves than what we know at this very moment. To the end of the spiritual journey, where we realize who we truly are. That's a work in progress with everybody, of course, but my goal with this series is to create an arc of the journey with individual steps as laid out in The Dawning of the True Self. And we're going to go through them piece by piece. So the first question, I think, is this series going to be for you or not? You know, you don't want to spend a lot of time if you have the feeling you can't identify with the premise, or you don't think you're on a spiritual journey right now, or something like that. So I want to basically, the goal of this first segment is to set the baseline, build the premise, and then from there begin our journey through this book. The dawning of the true self is basically the dawning from the self that we think we are to our true self in the end. The first chapter begins with a statement, and that statement says there must be more to life than this. If you have asked yourself, or if you have maybe woken up with this question one night, or maybe sometime you were at work or you did something, you interacted with somebody, and all of a sudden you realized, even if it was very, very short, that there must be more to life than what you see in front of you, right? There must be more to this world, maybe there must be more to yourself, that this can't be all there is. This can't be possibly all there is, right? So you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you come home, you go on vacation, you have all those little pleasures throughout your life, and you get sick and you get healthy again, you get rich and poor and everything. But is this all? Can this be all there is to life, right? So that will be the first segment that we're going to talk about. In the book, this segment is called Dreams, because The Three Feathers, the fable, starts with a dream, and so it is sometimes with us. We start out, or our spiritual journey starts out with a dream. Not a literal dream maybe, but a figurative dream, that we say, you know, I have this sense that something is missing, something is not quite right. This can't be it, right? And that's the beginning of our journey. So the first chapter, the first segment of this will be the one that is coming up next, is the one that's called Dreams. It is the first step on our journey. The second one is called Breaking the Pact, and that is the chapter where basically we have made a pact, and that is all in the unconscious mind. We have made a pact with ourselves not to change. That's why sometimes change is so extremely hard for us, because there's this unconscious pact, this secret pact we have made with ourselves that says, you know what, I'm not gonna change. I'm gonna believe that what I see in front of me every day, how I experience myself, this is it, and in the end I'm gonna die. There's nothing wrong with that. But the journey is basically starting with the question, what if there's more, right? What if there's more? And breaking the pact is, I have to somehow break the pact that I made with myself there is a large amount of resistance that basically stops us from going forward on our journey, and it pops up every day, right? It says, no, 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 stay where you are, don't change, don't question yourself, don't question things that you're thinking about, right? You hate somebody, you don't like somebody, don't question it, you know, just stay where you are. The status quo is you stop right where you are and you don't go any further. So breaking the pact is one of the topics. Next topic is called unlikely friendships, right? It says here, don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Just walk beside me and be my friend. Albert Camus. That chapter is talking about unlikely friends, that we have this sense of separation between friends and maybe acquaintances and strangers, right? If the people that we meet throughout our lives, that is, let's say 100%, maybe 1% of those people we meet are friends and acquaintances, the rest stay strangers. So we meet somebody on the subway or at the register in a supermarket. They're all strangers, right? So this chapter basically talks about why that is that we see them all as strangers, and that on our spiritual journeys we start out slowly, very slowly, to make the strangers on our road to peace or to the true self that we are, each stranger that we make into a friend. Even if it's only in our mind, it doesn't mean we have to talk to them actually physically. But that's unlikely friendships, that we make friends with people that we would never make friends of before. Chapter 4 is called Guardians of the Gate. Now that is an interesting chapter because that will talk about we talked about that before briefly about resistance, the resistance to moving forward on our spiritual journey. The Guardians of the Gate is the part of us that says, hell no, I won't go. Right? There's a part of us, our small self, that we are identified with right now, that does not want us to move to the journey and discover who we truly are, the true self. So the small self is with all means necessary, stop us from moving on that journey. It will put obstacles in our way. We will be distracted. We will rather watch TV. We will not make a stranger into a friend. We will not forgive the person that cut us off on the highway. We will, the small self will try with anything it can to stop us from on our quest. The next chapter will be imprisonment and freedom. That the freedom is what awaits us at the end of our journey, whereas right now we're not free. We think we're free. We live in the United States, or we live in whatever country we live in, and we think we're free, but we are absolutely not free, because we are completely bound by the limitations we set upon ourselves. And those limitations are completely unknown to us. That's why the next chapter, chapter 6, is called The Unconscious Mind. The unconscious mind is a big chapter, and it's also a big topic in this whole book, because if you compare the unconscious mind to an iceberg, you would have 1% of the iceberg is visible on top of the water. 99% is not visible. That's the true iceberg. The iceberg we see is the tip of the iceberg. That's why people say this is only the tip of the iceberg. The conscious mind is the tip of the iceberg. So, as a very clear example, your conscious mind might say, listen, I really want to get better. I want to improve. I want to get healthier. I want to lose weight. I want to be more open. I want to have more peace. I want to have less drama in my life. Please give me less drama, less conflict, less fighting, less struggling, right? So that's 1% of us wants that. But The 99% below the surface in the unconscious mind says, no, I don't want that. So basically the work from the small self that we think we are right now to the true self at the end is the path through the unconscious mind, through the darkness of our subconscious. And that unconscious is all the no's. No, I don't want to. I don't want to improve. I don't want to go further. I want to stay where I am in my small self. So the unconscious mind is a major topic that we're also going to talk about. Because in order for us to get to a place of peace or of happiness, we first have to realize how much we do not want it. We can have affirmations, we can have visualizations. None of that works if we don't get in touch with the part of us that doesn't want to do it, that does not want to get healthy, does not want to get better, doesn't want to have money, doesn't want to be happy or in a nice relationship. That part is what we have to look at. Chapter 8, segment 8 will be Out of the Ashes We Rise. That actually has to do with the fact that our journey, if we are true to our journey, how difficult it is and how hard we think it is and how little progress we seemingly make, this journey will inspire other people to move forward on their journey. So our journey helps other people on their journey. We don't even have to talk about that. It just happens through our example. If we're on a spiritual path, as hard as it might seem, we help others just for that. Then we have a topic that is called Locks and Gates. That discusses the fact that, we work on an issue for a long, long time. Let's say somebody's addicted to a substance or we have trouble with a person. And for years and years, we cannot get through that gate to the other side. And that chapter basically talks about why we are so hell-bent on staying on this side of the wall and not go out into the open grassland. We are basically locked in. We think we are locked in this prison, tied to the stone wall with heavy chains, right? So we're here, the wall has the chains on it, and we're tied to it. In reality, and we think other people are the wardens of our prison, right? But in reality, that's not the case at all. To just get that image back is we sit in a cell, the door is open, the chains are on the floor, they do not no longer bind us. But we do not want to get up and get out of prison, out of the prison that we made, and we stay in. And that Locks and Gates will talk about that prison and how we can get up and walk out. But at first we have to realize that we're the ones that are the jail keepers, right? The Point of No Return is number 11 in the series. That talks about the point. Every journey has that point where we commit fully. We see that in movies a lot, where we have a point where the main character cannot go back, right? I'm thinking about Hunger Games, the first one, where Katniss is in the elevator. The moment she steps into the elevator, that's it. That's the point of no return. Before that, she would have been able to escape and do whatever, but when she hits the elevator and goes up, there's no more returning. And the same happens actually on our spiritual journey, where we at one point commit fully to this quest of finding out who we are. This might be an unconscious moment, but it might also be a fully conscious moment where we say, you know what, this is it. I'm going to stick with it, even though it's very hard. So we will talk about that. And we will also talk about the fact that sometimes we think we expect too little from life, too much from life, but we actually expect too little. We expect a very small amount. And the image that we're going to talk about is that we are sitting under a large, beautifully set table where you have food and drink and prosperity in thought and emotion and physically, and we sit under the table and we're waiting for scraps to fall from that table so that we can hungrily eat them because we don't think we deserve or we're worthy of that spot at the table where this feast is arranged in our name. So we cower under the table our whole life. We might not think we do, but we are content with way too little in our lives. We're content with a beach vacation or even living at the beach. That is not what brings us really peace. There's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't really bring us the full experience of what we really could experience if we would wake up. So we're going to talk about that. The next episode is going to be the dark night of the soul, which is exactly what it says. The dark night of the soul. That is part of every spiritual journey. Some experience it more, some experience it less. Some are less conscious about it, some are more. Doesn't matter. We all experience the dark night of the soul at one point or another, and we will talk at length about it to identify it and to realize if you're in it right now, it will have an end. There is the other side, and the reason for the dark night of the soul is that we have come a certain way already on our journey. We have made large progress. We have we made so much progress that we are now at the state of utter terror. That's why we stop ourselves. We put major blocks into our path, so we can't continue. We're stuck in this maelstrom of negativity and thoughts and fear and guilt and shame and all that is coming back up. All those, popping back up like in a ride on Halloween. All those masks of terror pop up, and we're terrified and paralyzed. The dark night of the soul is dark, but it is something that we can get through, and we'll talk about that. It's part of every spiritual journey. There's one chapter that is called "Are We There Yet?" That's a chapter that is more for the spiritual practice. The little things that can come up, for example, you could think, oh my God, this is never going to work. It has to do a little bit with the dark side of the soul, dark night of the soul. You might think this is never going to work. I'm never going to make it. Or you might think, oh, I'm already there. What are you talking about? I don't need this. So there are those two extremes, and we kind of weave back and forth between those extremes, and this is going to just explain that. And so those are basically our chapters, I think. Let me just see here. And then there's the last one, which is called Home. And that is when the journey ends. And we will talk about that very briefly. We're not going to talk about it at length, but we're just going to briefly touch on that because everybody's experience is different, and it's a long path. And then we will take those segments and expand a little bit on each one of them. We will talk about projection and denial and projection. We will talk about perception, how we perceive the outside world, why we perceive the outside world like that. And it all comes back to the journey from the small self to the true self. It's all within that journey, within that quest. And the basic journey is from the small self and the no. Through the no, we have to basically look at all the no's in ourselves in order to arrive at the yes. The yes means the end is we accept us, how we truly are, not how we think we are right now. Not this limited, small self that is dependent on the weather and dependent on what other people say and not say. And we are kind of like this tiny little sailboat in the storm trying to hold on to something, to kind of survive it. But our true self is waiting at the end for us with this magnificent experience of love and peace and joining with everything and everybody. But we don't want that because we're so afraid of it, and the journey is basically that, out of fear. And that's it. I hope you'll enjoy it. And this was the first segment. It's exactly 20 minutes. And I'm saying cheers and see you soon.